Hello everybody, I'm Lorenzo Marchessi and I'm here right at the beginning of this video we're about to watch to remind you to subscribe to my channel. It's very helpful if you do, and also please tell your friends, your family members, and share it if you can. Love to hear your comments and feedback, but just want to make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching and we'll see you soon. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Geek Authority Show. I'm your host, Lorenzo Marchessi. This is the show where I get to interview all kinds of fun and talented people doing all kinds of projects, be they actors, writers, directors, producers, cosplayers, authors, singers, songwriters. I've talked to them all. Today, I have a very special guest. He's got quite the career behind him, both on film, television, and on stage. He does a lot of stage work. Welcome, my guest, Melvin Hampton Sr. Thank you so much, sir.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. It's really an honor to be here. You can just call me Mel. That's the stage. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. I want to give respect and professionality there, but okay, Mel works for me. So, Mel, as I do with all my guests, I want to start at the beginning. Are you, first of all, a native Californian?
No, I grew up in Ogden, Utah. I started doing the Christmas shows at New Zion Baptist Church, 2935 Lincoln, and then played football in junior high school, went to Snow Junior College in Southern Utah and broke my leg. And so the guy who was the head of the speech department, he saw me running down the streets one day on my crutches. He said, "You know, you got a big mouth." I said, "Well, thank you." He says, "And I hear you losing your football scholarship, but if you'll get on my debate team and you have to do one play at the end of the year, I'll pick up your football scholarship." So I did, and we did Trojan Women. I played Poseidon, who came up out of the sea. And then I went back to Ogden and graduated from Weber State. Then it was a college.
Okay, what age was the injury? How old were you?
I was a freshman in junior college, so 18, 19.
Okay,
well, I graduated from high school at 17, I guess.
Okay, and I can't go by this. He said you had a big mouth, so he thought you'd be great.
Because we didn't live on campus, but we were loud. We were the football team.
Right. So he felt your boisterousness would be great for debate.
Yeah.
And then the acting was just a little bit a part of it.
Right, because he said in order to justify the debate scholarship, I had to have some performance credit. So that's why he required me to be in the play, so that he paid for my last year of junior college.
Okay, and so you got the role of Poseidon. Is that when the acting bug hit you?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you went on to college and you did more theater?
Actually, I didn't do anything until after college. A friend of mine had did a movie, and we was all sitting around at the park in Salt Lake City, just, kicking it on Sunday. He said, "Man, I just made $3,000. I said, "Legally?" He went, "Yeah, how you do that?" He said, "I did a movie." His name was Tony Smith. And so I started taking acting classes from this agency that was in Salt Lake City called GF Images from Denver, Colorado. And I got the bug. And so I was working as management trainee at Sears Roebuck. So I had money set aside. And so I started taking acting classes, and a friend of mine's father was a director at Schick Sun Classic. They used to do a TV show called Gentle Ben. It was about a guy who had a bear as a pet.
Oh, yeah.
And so when Henning heard that I was
dating myself,
I was doing acting lessons, he said, "Well, have you ever been on a movie set?" I was like, "No." He said, "Well, come on the set. We'll make you an extra, pay you like $35, and you'll see what it's like to be on set." So I got on set, and then I was on camera. He gave me a little close up. And so he said, "I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give you a line. Say this line," whatever the line was. And he said, "We're going to Taft-Hartley you." I had no idea what that meant. What does that mean? He said, well, now you can join the Screen Actors Guild. So okay. So I joined the Screen Actors Guild, and then they do a lot of films to this day in
What
Utah.
year was that this happened?
80, 1980.
Okay, because they were grandfathering a lot of Taft-Hartley's, in various
Yeah,
projects back then. It's a little different now, I believe. So
yeah. Because Universal had come and they could pay you, you could work 3 days and they didn't have to convert you to a weekly rate. So everybody would get 3 days of work. They'd give you a day off and then work you again.
okay, I got a couple questions. So is Utah a big theater community? Is that where you?
Both. At the University of Utah, the Osmond family came from Salt Lake City, from Orem, from
Weren't they in Provo, Utah?
Orem, Provo. That's like Los Angeles, and I live in Long Beach. So that's
Right,
like
and Provo.
Salt Lake City,
Did,
Provo, and then Orem is like a suburb.
and don't the Osmonds actually still have a studio out there? They built the whole.
Yeah. I think one of their daughters appeared in a Lifetime. I think one of the daughters appeared, or the granddaughters appeared in a Lifetime movie this past Christmas, the something
Okay.
of Christmas or something. Because I still have an agent there, and I still work there. I get film work there. I get print work there with an
Wow.
agency there in Salt Lake City. Yeah,
So you fly out there to do the work?
Flyer Drive. Yeah,
Oh wow! How long's the drive? Curious.
it's a 13-hour drive, but it's a 1-hour flight.
Like
And
Vegas.
yeah,
45 minutes.
There's a gentleman who just recently passed away, William Brimley.
Oh yeah.
He was on the set. I did a Spielberg movie. We did, and Wolf built me. And he says, "Well, I have a ranch out in Huntsville or whatever it is, and I drive to L.A. And are you thinking about being a Utah actor moving to L.A.? You can do it." Blah blah blah. So he always encouraged me, right? So
Wilford
then,
Brimley, you're saying?
yeah, yeah.
Wow. What was the Spielberg movie? We're jumping ahead, but I'm just curious.
I did Earthbound,
Oh, I don't
and
know that.
Burl Ives was the star of it,
Okay.
and there was a show on the air then called Peyton Place.
Oh yeah.
And so a couple of the stars of Peyton Place were in this movie. It was a Universal pick. And so it was about a family who came in, infiltrated into society, kind of like WandaVision. And
Right.
and my character was a guy in a Jeep in the National Guard that had figured out that this family were aliens. And so after had the initial interview, my character was going back to the Bay. Now it's the first time I ever did any stunt work. They did a thing where they flipped the Jeep and we all got thrown out of the Jeep. So that was like my first stab at like stunt work.
But you were paid as an actor and a
They
stuntman?
gave me a bump as a
Okay.
stuntman. I went, oh, that's
More
how that
money.
Oh, okay. And I
So
was
okay.
always athletic.
Okay, so this was in Utah or this is when you got to LA?
This
Okay.
is 1979, 1980, 1981.
So what brought you to LA? Wilford Brimley?
Well, I got married, I got divorced, I got the acting bug, I left Sears and Roebuck, I got out of the management training program, and I said, well, I'm gonna just go to this LA thing and just try this LA thing, right? So then my wife at the time, my son's mom, who's now a doctor, she didn't want to do it. I said, but we got married and I told you I was moving to LA. She didn't believe it was gonna come. So come time to move, she goes, I'm not taking my kids out of Utah. I was living in Ogden, which is a little bit north of Salt Lake. She said, so I instantly became a long distance dad. So we have a divorce. So I was traveling back and forth being a dad.
How was the transition? Did you kind of get into LA and didn't know what was going on, or did you kind of fit in?
Yeah, I kind of got here. My first landing spot was the Alfan Theatrical Ensemble, so to take classes. And I was living with a friend of mine, him and Miss Shirley Ralph, they was doing plays. And in those days, everybody that was in town was staying at the Magic Hotel
Okay.
off of Franklin. Yeah. And so I was crashing. One night I crashed at Perry's room. The other night I crashed at Miss Shirley Ralph's room. The other night, Yul Brynner and Liz Taylor, I'd fight, because all the cast, so I would go to the cast parties. So I did that for about a month until I found an apartment. And then I found a little apartment off of Fairfax behind the church over there, a little place they call the Jungle. It's still there. And I sublet an apartment from Grace Jones's aunt.
Grace Jones, the singer?
It was her apartment, but she was in Europe traveling with Billy Idol or whoever she was traveling with. because she was a mega pop star in those days. But she kept a little place so she would come back to LA. And so the lady told me, you can lease it here for maybe 2, maybe 3 months, but in 3 months, you got to go. Okay, all right. So, and then I moved to another apartment like on Orange and had a roommate. And then I started doing the LA thing, hanging out at the Coconut Teaser and taking acting
Okay.
classes, doing
Did
improv.
you did you get a chance to interact with Grace Jones or?
No, I met her one time. I was doing the Wild West Stunt Show at Knott's Berry Farm. That was my first like formal acting gig in Los Angeles. I was hired to be the star of the Wild West Stunt Show at Knott's Berry Farm. So
Nice.
I
And
learned
they don't.
all
None
the
of the
roles and all the shows. Yeah.
none of the studios have those anymore. Universal used to have that. Knott's Berry Farm used to have that.
I think they still do the stunt show in the summertime, not in
And
the winter.
at Knott's Berry.
Yeah, I think they until before the pandemic, because
Right.
I was a stint of mine I was teaching. I ran a performing arts program at Los Angeles Job Corps. And so after working there and getting fired from there for acting a damn fool, I said, let's go back. Let's take the kids to Knott's Berry Farm. And so they had rewritten the Wild West Stunt Show by one of the guys that was hired when I had worked there like 6, 7 years before. But it was a recorded thing. And unfortunately, one of those things that my group of actors and stuntmen that were there were said, we're not going to do a recorded show. Because what happens if the voice gets ahead of the actor?
You mean when you say recorded, you mean synced?
They recorded the audio of the show, and so the actors were just doing the show and talking to the recorded track,
Like mouthing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Why would you even do that?
But it just so happened that day was the day that it happened, and I was sitting there with my Job Corps students, and I kept looking at Big Steve. That was the guy he was then running the stunt team. And when he saw me, when I came around the back to the dressing room, to come to the back to the dressing room, he said, "Don't even say it. Don't even say it. I saw you sitting out there." And I said, "Yeah, man, it's And by then I had worked at Universal. I had been doing TV, and I was teaching then. So I really wasn't into the performance aspect of it. But I thought that was good. But they still do I spoke to an employee maybe a year or so ago before the pandemic. And she said, yeah, I think they do it in the summertime. It's not such a big deal as it was in the old days.
Right. The Universal still has their Water World. They call it Spectacular. It used to be the Miami Vice Stunt Show, and then they used to have the Western Stunt Show too. But that's been long gone.
I did the Miami Vice Action Spectacular as one of the Tubbses. I was
Really?
got hired at Tubbs number 10. And over
I
the winter,
probably saw you then. Oh
I
my God!
moved up to Tubbs number 4, and I had to work on Christmas Day. It was crazy, crazy. That's when I started doing more stunt work, because all of those performers, even to this day, that are in those stunt shows at Universal, a lot of those guys do stunt work in film
and TV. Yeah.
and TV.
Absolutely. So when you had to, I'm assuming, audition for that particular part at Miami Vice. So you're a swimmer and a active tumbler, and
No,
martial arts.
all I did was Tubbs. I was doing high falls at Knott's, so I was hired because at that particular time, recording equipment had just come to where people could record. So in those
video?
days,
What do you mean?
video. So in those days, I got recorded by a gazillion people doing the stunt show at Knott's Berry Farm. And so the guy was out there one time, and he saw me, and he walked, because you would do like the stunt show at 10, and then you would come out at 10:30 and do the bank robbery and take a high fall. And then at 11, you do another show and rain on the people as Dr. I Will Skin them. And then you go back and do the Wild West Stunt Show, maybe as the plant, take the high fall, and then come back at 3 and do the star of the show. So everything was, so he said, have you ever considered working at Universal in our stunt shows? I was like, no. He said, my name is, and I run the department, and I'd like for you to come up, and we're having auditions for a new show called the Miami Vice Action Spectacular. And we're going to be hiring African-American stuntmen to play Tubbs. Okay. So we trained at Lake Castaic, learned how to ride the jet skis, learned how to
Boats. Didn't you have those boats too? Those were cool.
boat. Yeah, I didn't drive the boats, but the guy who did Crockett drove the boat.
Okay.
But Tubbs would sit on open the show. You'd stand on the front of the boat, come out with the gun, and
Oh,
shoot the gun.
you had those great suits, right? Those
Yeah,
80s leisure suits. Remember?
Yeah. And that's when I learned the value, even after having been taking acting classes for probably 6-7 years and performing for 5 or 6 years. That's when I learned the value of timing.
Oh.
Because as Tubbs came around and you shot the gun, you were setting off explosives so that the stuntman would do flips like they got exploded.
Right.
Like the explosion
on the edge, because you're on the
on the edge.
Yeah.
And I shot early one time, and the ashes burned the stuntman.
Ooh.
Eric, and he still drives helicopters and stuff for movies, and it burned him. So they took me backstage after the show, him and TR Shields, and because what happened is when you come in as a tub, you would work with a team.
Right.
So you had to learn every team's timing for the explosives and every actor's timing for the stunts. And that's why it would move you up from Tubbs number 10 to Tubbs number 4. And I burned Eric's face. They took me backstage and whooped my ass. I mean, literally. You will learn.
Well, it was an accident, right? You weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but here, let me ask you. So what you're saying is when you're coming out on that boat and you're doing your shooting, you're triggering the effect, not the booth behind you?
No, you're triggering the explosions because the stuntman is running, and just as he gets the trampoline, you're supposed to shoot. The audience sees boom, and out of the smoke he comes.
Okay.
So it was
what do
things.
You actually have pellets, or what is it? Radio control?
Electronic lasers.
Oh.
Just like
and
you, just like you with this screen. That's what we were doing back there.
Right. So that the accuracy of the laser would actually determine the proper timing for the.
Yes.
Oh, I think right now I think it's all controlled from behind. There.
Because of accidents, probably accidents like that. Right. People doing a high fall and they didn't check their pad, and there maybe was a broom on the pad or something. Because as a stuntman, you are responsible for where you land, and you are responsible for your equipment.
How about the fighting, though? Did you get a crash course in fake fighting?
Yeah. We staged.
I remember, attacking the gunmen and all this other stuff. Yeah. And you had that scaffold to climb up, I believe.
Yeah, that was the guy who would take that high fall. He would do that skyfall. He would go up that scaffold, and he would take like the 50-foot high fall onto a pad. Yeah, it was at that particular time, the Miami Vice Action Spectacular was the most intricate live action show of its time.
Yeah, I loved it. Waterworld cannot compare to Miami Vice. Yeah. I wish they'd bring that back. But people are like, "What's
after like 40 years now?"
Yeah, and it's literally Universal Studios' worst film they ever made in terms of, how much it cost versus how much it made ever.
That was a Costner thing, huh?
Yeah, and I was like, what are you thinking? There's so many other Universal properties they could do a better stunt show with. But anyway, let's not get into that. So, okay, so let's jump into that real quick. Where are you? There you are. If you look on your screen now, this is just a tiny sample of the amazing work that this gentleman has done. So, Mel, what would you say, looking at that, what would you say is a highlight of one of those TV, film, video projects you did?
I would say a highlight would be, I don't have it on here, but I'm learning it this year too. One would be the film Revenge of the Ninja.
Okay.
And the other would be an episode of In Living Color where myself, Tommy Davidson, and David Allen Greer did like the Scarecrow, the Lion, and we did a dance. And Janet Jackson was in that episode because I keep getting these huge residual checks of 25 cents.
Okay.
Color, and people will say, I saw you on Living Color. And the other, because Revenge of the Ninja has become kind of an occult film, not OCC, but CULT film. And I've had people say, oh, you played Detective Quincy. And it catches me off guard. And that's still something I have issues with because I don't look at myself as a celebrity
Oh,
or
okay.
as a star. I'm just a
Did you?
Hollywood actor.
Okay, now that you said that celebrity, did you come out after the Miami Vice shows and meet the audience?
Yes.
Wasn't
And
that what? Didn't that give you a little thrill when the kids are coming up to you?
that was the best part of my 40-year career working at Universal Studios and working at Knott's Berry Farm so that after the show, I could interact with people and take pictures with people.
Right. I would imagine the kids are like, "Oh my god!" So,
And there's been people that have said, you know, my grandma has a picture of you and her. You was in a cowboy suit. And I've had adults walk up to me and say, when I was a little kid, you gave me a little plastic bullet at Knott's Berry Farm. And I go, you remember me?
very
And,
good.
and as Stevie
So,
Wonder says, out of the billions of people in the world, someone remembering you is a blessing from God. But when people just kind of walk up to me and say, will you sign this? I kind of go, me?
okay, let's explain to people watching. A residual check, for example, is something when you do a commercial TV film. It's part of contract of the SAG agreement where, depending, and today it's all a lot different because of internet and all that other stuff. But it's basically a payment for your work as an actor,
Yes.
and it generally disintegrates right over time.
It diminishes. It
It
diminishes.
diminishes. Does
But
it?
because of Nick at Night,
Uh-huh.
Revenge of the Ninja, and all that, which is Cho Kasugi's family. His son still has a karate studio in West LA on Santa Monica Boulevard, I think. And
Okay.
because of Nick at Night, Keenan Ivory Wayans, they secured some type of thing where they keep showing episodes of In Living Color on Nick
Well,
at Night.
that's great for you. You
Yeah,
know, a quarter
blessing.
will get you a lot.
It's a
You save
blessing.
four of them, you get $1.
I'm just honored, I'm just honored. But like I say, I kick myself in the foot every time I do this, and somebody will just start talking to me because when I'm on stage, I'm at 100%.
Right.
When I'm off stage, I'm kind of an introvert. I just kind of like to
Okay.
observe.
I'm gonna go down to your stage credits here real quick. But any of these film TV videos have a moment that on this list here that you stand out as far as memorable for either who you worked with or the experience you had? Because what's Goldfish? That
Yes.
sounds familiar.
Yeah. The Goldfish was a USC graduate film. Every year I try to give back. So every year I try to do a graduate film at either SC or at UCLA or at the American Film Institute. All you do is you get a credit for it because it's Screen Actors Guild, but you don't get any pay,
Right.
right? But some of these
But the
people,
roles are juicy, right? The
the
roles are
role was
good.
juicy. Goldfish, the role was juicy. As the homeless man in Lost Blanket was kind of juicy. Mr. Wilson in the Chicken Club, that was a very interesting project to the American Film Institute because this young lady took a anime project and translated it from Japanese or Chinese, I forget which one, and did it in English. And she had her first film title doing the Chicken Club. And it's about a people in her country. That's what they do.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was memorable. Let's see. Stage.
Yeah, let's look at this. Robey Theater.
Well, I trained at Long Beach City College with Tony Carrero and a bunch of great Shakespearean actors. So this is my third Shakespearean play where I played Roderigo in Othello. It was grinding. And Tom Ormani is a great director. And he was taking me to a place that I didn't even think about going as an actor. But based on what he wanted the character to be, we grounded out. And he called me after it aired and he said, you did it. He says, I had my doubts, but I said, well, Michael Chekhov has taught me you got to do the work. And
Right.
and I tell directors when I go on a movie set or a TV set or even in a play that I'm the old school actor. You tell me what you want and I'll give it to you your way. I
Right.
you
And
let me make my choices as an actor, how I build a character. I give him, the chronicle stuff, his family, his age, his idiosyncrasies, why he scratches his eyeball. But in
Right.
terms of what you want in that character, my job, because I'm old school, is to give you what you want, not give you what I want.
Exactly. And I don't know, did you catch my interview with Tom? I did a Tom. How
It's
do you
part
pronounce?
of it.
Yeah, okay. He was great. I mean, he had a lot to say about the whole. He loves theater. He loves the whole process of working with the team and bringing the best out. And that's amazing. Any of
And I
these?
don't know. Let me say this. I don't know if we'll get credit for it because so many things happen and then other people do it and then it becomes popular. But like in a couple of places, like when we're walking by the ocean as characters and our Zoom boxes are moving in, and underneath us, they have the ocean hitting the shore. That's never really been done in
Right.
virtual plays. And just since the pandemic, I've been blessed to be in 3 virtual plays, and I try to watch as many as I can. Nobody has really, and the guy who did it, he said what I had to do was take it out of Zoom, put it in my Mac Pro, edit it, and then put it back in Zoom.
Right. Yeah.
And I
High
just
production value. Very high
high
production.
production value, yeah. And I
Okay.
don't
One
credit
question.
for it, but
When
I did it.
you said you played Othello 3 times?
No, I've done 3 Shakespearean plays.
Okay. Othello. What were the other two?
I did A Midsummer Night's Dream once as Theseus, king, and then A Midsummer Night's Dream once as Snug the Joiner.
Okay, so my next question is: so how do you feel about versus an original play, which I see a few credits on there, and then doing Shakespeare? How do you approach the
Shakespeare is about learning the script,
language?
pronouncing every single word, every single syllable, so that you get it right. Michael Chekhov is an acting technique that talks about the specific aspects of your character's language, your character's being, your character's idiosyncrasies. And with Shakespeare, if you don't get that dialogue, you don't get what Shakespeare meant. It's
Wow.
the ultimate challenge for actors, and most actors don't want to do the work. But I've learned that if you don't do the work, you learning your character is more difficult and it takes you longer than somebody like the other girl who was in the play who we do the work.
Okay. All right. Let's give him a little sample here of.
Yeah.
Want to set this up before I hit play? Whoop.
Um, Iago, who's at the bottom, and Rodrigo are walking down the street, and Brabantio is Desdemona's father, and Desdemona has snuck out of the house for a rendezvous with Othello. And my character and Iago are telling this man who's a senator standing on his balcony that his daughter done run off with Othello.
I know thee, Rodrigo.
Sir, I will answer anything, but I beseech you, if to be your pleasure and most wise consent, as partly I find it is, that your daughter, at this odd, even, and dull watch of the night, transported with no worse, no better guard, but with a knave of common hire, a gondolier, to the gross claps of a lascivious Moor. If this be known to you and your allowance, we then have done you bold and saucy wrongs. But if you do not know this, my manners tells me we have your wrong rebuke. Do not believe that from the sense of all civility that I would play or trifle with your reverence. Your daughter, if you have not given her leave, I say again, hath made a gross revolt, tying her duty, beauty, wit, and fortunes in an extravagant and wheeling stranger of here and everywhere. Straight satisfy yourself. If she be in your chamber or your house, let loose on me the justice of the state, for it is thus deluding you.
I know thee, Rodrigo.
Sir, I will answer.
Okay, there we go. So, you want to tell us a little bit about the two actors here? Give a little shout out to them.
The gentleman playing Brabantio is a world-renowned actor who has done several high blockbuster Asian films, and he has a lot of TV credits, and he has a lot of stage.
What's his name?
Off the top of my head, I can't.
Uh-oh, sorry.
I was
And
so into the work that, meeting, and because it's virtual, none of us were ever in the same place.
right. What about this gentleman here?
This gentleman is new to Los Angeles. He's done Shakespeare on the East Coast. I think this is his fourth or fifth Shakespearean play. He lives in downtown Los Angeles.
Okay.
And underneath that band, he has this huge head of hair. Both of them are very accomplished actors. And it was very challenging because we had to give that sense of community, even though one was in downtown, Brabantio was in the San Fernando Valley, and I was in Long Beach.
Wow.
Yeah. That's Tom.
Okay, now.
See, that's yeah.
This is another scene with him. And
this is when Iago is pretty much telling Rodrigo, who's kind of a weak, insecure old man with a lot of money who thinks that he can really be with Desdemona. And so what Iago has been doing all during the play is taking his money and putting it in his pocket, but telling Rodrigo that he bought Desdemona a coat. He bought Desdemona earrings, and Desdemona secretly is in love with you. And it's at this particular point where Rodrigo has finally realized that after getting beat up, after being humiliated and criticized, and Desdemona doesn't even know who he is. And
okay.
this is when he busts Rodrigo. And it's funny how at the end of, I'll let you see what he ends up telling Rodrigo to do.
Okay, here we go.
Come now, Rodrigo. I do not find that thou dealst justly with me. What, in the contrary? Every day thou daskest me with some device, Iago, and rather as it seems to me now, keeps from me all convenience that supplies me with the least advantage of hope. I will indeed no longer endure it, nor am I persuaded to put up in peace what already I have foolishly suffered. Will you hear me, Rodrigo? Faith, I have heard too much, and your words and your performances are no kin together. You charged me most unjustly. With naught but truth. I have wasted myself out of my means. The jewels you have had from me to deliver to Desdemona would have corrupted a fortress. You have told me she hath received them and returned me expectations and comforts of sudden respect and acquaintance, but I find none. Well, go to. Very well. Very well? Go to? I cannot go to, man. Nor 'tis it very well. By this hand, I say 'tis very scurvy to begin to find myself fopped in it. Very well. I tell you 'tis not very well. I will make myself known to Desdemona, and she will return me my jewels. I will give over my suit and repent my unlawful solicitation. If not, I assure yourself, I will seek satisfaction. You have said now.
Okie dokie.
And then after that, in the same conversation, he tells Rodrigo, it's nice to see that you have chutzpah, but now that you have, we can really do this because you can take Desdemona from him by killing his lieutenant. And Rodrigo goes, really? He goes, yeah. So what happens toward the end of the play is Rodrigo attacks Cassio and stabs him, but because Cassio is a warrior, he stabs Rodrigo and Rodrigo dies. And then just before, as Rodrigo is dying, Iago comes up and says, how dare you attack a general at night, and casts the sword into Rodrigo and kills him.
Wow. And the one thing I noticed too is in terms of, you were talking about the technique and the language and learning the words and all that, you there's a lot of, I guess, breath control, breathing. Yeah, you have like one line that's I didn't see you breathe. I'm like,
yeah. And I had to, that character also challenged my singing techniques of talking from the diaphragm, breathing. And Tom is so intricate there. That opening line, Tom said, don't break the opening line after you say hope. Because
right. Tom, the director you're referring to.
Because if you break it before the word hope, it gives it a different meaning.
How was that experience with Tom as directing? How did he, with the cast like Othello, how did he give direction? I mean, I'm assuming maybe one night you were all, 20 characters on Zoom, and then he would give notes. How did that work?
And then he would break it down where Iago and I, most of the times we rehearsed, it was myself, Iago, and Tom.
Oh.
And then Brabantio with Iago. And
scene
then,
work. He was doing scene work. Okay.
Scene work. And then Ben Gilroy, who's the executive director of the Robey Theater Company with Danny Glover, he would work as Othello with Desdemona.
Wow.
And that's how Tom broke it down and insisted on the intimacy of learning the script. And even though we're doing a reading, we're doing this as a theatrical performance.
Production. Yeah.
I mean, because
you guys got the look, you guys got the backgrounds.
He said, I want you to dedicate, which is a beautiful thing in this day and age, because with television, as you know, it's a time thing. You give it, you make the cut, they print it, you go to the next one.
Right.
Theater, you don't have that. But see, Tom, that's the beautiful part about working with Tom, is that he was so intricate about, no, Mel, you can't breathe before the word hope. He said, let's do it, and let's break it up, and then let's do it, and you don't breathe until after I say, like I said. So we did it, and then we did it the other way, and he says, can you see the difference? And by doing it that way, it gave a natural build for Rodrigo. And then it's like, don't expand too much, because that's not the zenith of the scene.
Right.
The zenith of the scene is the last time you say very well. Which, as an actor, so many times you see actors in TV and film and movies, they peak too soon.
Right. You could see it in your eyes, the energy, and you were building. It's like, and the camera, because it's not stage, you can't be all over the place. Right. So the intimacy of that passion is right there in your face. So
it became a theatrical stage performance, but we had to adhere to the guidelines of being on
Zoom.
Film and in the box.
Yeah. So who played Othello? Do you remember?
Ben Gilroy, who's executive director of the Robey Theater Company.
Oh, hi, Ben.
And Ben has done, he's done William Du Bois in plays. Ben not only teaches acting classes, and he's Danny Glover's partner at Robey Theater, but he also is a personal coach, and he helps actors that are having trouble in life. Ben is.
And I've seen several shows at the Robey. I think I saw 2 with Danny Glover. When I used to, when the world was open and theater and all that, I used to do reviews and critique these projects and stuff. So I miss it, by the way. But make sure you talk to Ben about talking to me, because I've reached out to him. But anyway, so let's jump to some of these visuals, shall I say, stunning visuals of this handsome man here. What is this outfit, by the way? What is this?
This suit is funny. I did a play called Kentucky. It was at the East-West Players, and I played a minister. And in this particular production, the writer, it took place in her hometown in Louisville, Kentucky. And in Louisville, Kentucky, there's 2 high schools, and half of the characters in it went to one high school, and the other half went to another high school. So my character was based on her minister, who his whole job was to hold the community together.
Okay.
And the show is about a young girl who runs off to New York City to become a journalist. Her younger sister stays in Louisville and then decides to get married. So then the girl comes back from New York to try and break up the wedding, because she wants her sister to move to New York. To make a long story short, love wins. They get married, and the girl goes back to New York.
So this is a suit? Is that what you're saying?
That was a 3-piece suit that the Reverend wore.
Wow. I like that little black flare. Is that kind of what is that?
You mean in the lower thing that looks like an Emmy Award?
Is that what that is?
No, I don't know what it is.
Okay. I thought it was
in my mind, I'm throwing out there. It's down the road.
Okay. What about this?
This particular guy
You kind of look angry.
Was the shot. I have a very good photographer. I don't know if I can say her name.
Absolutely. Give her a shout out.
Sage Kirkpatrick. She advertises on Facebook as Fresh Look Hollywood. And she lives over there like in the Lancashire Magnolia area. And
in North Hollywood?
Yeah, in North Hollywood. She does all of her shots around
the Geek Authority is based in North Hollywood. Yay.
You guys should look up. You guys should
what's her name?
Sage Kirkpatrick.
Sage Kirkpatrick. Hi, Sage. Okay.
And her Facebook page is Fresh Look Hollywood, and she's always busy. And she works a lot as an actress. So she knows the things at that particular point in time that are working, because part of her job as a photographer is to watch and see what types of characters are in film, what type of characters are on TV. So when you come in, she's very, very reasonable. She'll give you, and then she'll give you 3 shots to leave with, or more. In my case, more. And she shops them right there in her home. So all you got to do is go to wherever you want to print them and print them. To see, when I was in there, I had a full beard, and I shaved that day. And she really liked this, and she says, "This looks like the guy who lives in New Orleans."
Right.
This is not a guy you would see in Los Angeles.
Do you think she would talk to me? Come on my show?
Yeah.
Love to talk to a photographer.
I'll send her a message that she should talk to you, because she's really an incredible.
Wow.
And she's
is this one of hers too? This one?
Yes. All the pictures I've taken in the past 5 years have been with her, except for the last one was a friend of mine. His name, the other one without the beard.
Right. There you are. That's the beard. And then you shaved it off.
And the other one is Larry Wormsley. He's a friend of mine who plays tennis at Anderson Park Tennis, who's a retired photographer from the Bay. And one day we was playing tennis. He said, "Man, you're an actor." Oh, I said, "Yeah." Yeah. Well, they teased me at Anderson Park because I messed around and told them that I got a 50-cent residual from one of those films. And so now they call me, it started as a $half actor, but now I'm a half-ass actor.
How funny. Well,
and so
they just have to go see you on stage and know that ain't true. So
Larry
this is my favorite. This one's my favorite here.
Yeah, he shot, this was just like during the pandemic. Larry shot this. We shot March or April, maybe May.
Right.
In his garage in Compton. Yeah, his name.
You got a great smile. You've got a great brow there. You have a stylist, or is that all you?
That's just me. He said, "I think we found you a new headshot," which is very interesting, because when he first sent it to me, he just sent it to me raw, no shading, no nothing. And I sent it to my agent, Daniel Hoff, and Daniel Hoff says, "You need to invest some money in a photographer, and don't ever send me anything like this again." And I was kind of offended. And I told Larry, and Larry says, "Well, I didn't put any highlights in it. I didn't do any shading." I said, "Larry, I was trying to turn you on to this, because my agent, Daniel Hoff, is Beyonce's commercial agent." I said, "So I was trying to, He said, "Well, give me the shit back." So Larry took it and he did it and he put it back. And we put it up on this thing called Photo Shot. It's a place where actors can go, or if you're an amateur photographer, you can put your work up and people will buy your work from there.
Wow.
It's a free website, and you pay as people buy your stuff. Yeah.
This is the last one.
This is an old shot. This shot is probably, thank God, I haven't aged. 10 years.
Yeah, it looks good. It's that professor look. It's that that knowledgeable but fun kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Lastly,
the whiskers is because Daniel Hoff and also Courtney at Aqua Talent, they say, even though I am a young old man, I get more calls with these fuzzies than I do without the fuzzies.
Yeah, you could be a doctor, a lawyer, a professor. With that kind of look.
And when I look at all these commercials and I go, "Oh yeah, I remember that guy from that commercial." And we all have, but my problem is, and it's always been a timing thing with me. Sometimes I let it grow out, and when I get to the audition, they say, "Oh, we want it to be nice and neat." Oh shoot! Or I show it there like this, and they, oh no, we were looking for a full beard. Like, oh, so yeah.
Okay, last thing we want to look at. Tell us a little bit about this before I roll it.
At the beginning of the pandemic, and now everything is done virtually. So songs, musical auditions. This is not my best musical audition, but this was for, I think, for Tootsie. It was a road company for Tootsie. I have an audition that I sent you in the other thing. And this is one of the songs I just sang in my little corner here because they said, you don't have to have a trained voice. Even though I do have a music teacher who lives in the Valley, when I'm doing a musical, I'll go to him for like 2 weeks, tune the voice, all the breathing exercises. This was just a rough cut that they liked. I actually got a call back. Didn't get the show, but I got a call back.
And you're referring to Tootsie the musical, the stage version, which is the Dustin Hoffman, Sidney Pollack thing. Okay, cool.
But there's also a stage production that won a Tony Award. And I think here I was auditioning for the agent and a pretty famous film actor in the latest film version. I think the Jewish actor with the big afro did it in the movie with Dustin Hoffman.
No, the guy playing the agent in the original film with Dustin Hoffman was Sidney Pollack, who was also the director of the film. He got the Oscar for that. So,
but they did that. But there was a Broadway revival of it, and the actor who played the agent got a Tony nominee.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, "I'm gonna do this song."
This is Tootsie, and you're singing the agent's part, correct?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's give a listen. Oh, and by the way, for all those actors who, wondering what a quick audition or something you'd have to do, to send to an agent or send to a casting director, this is exactly what it looks like. I think you believe you have a slate on there, and then you go right into the song. So this is how it's done, guys.
Hi, I'm Mel Hampton. I'll be doing I Like What She's Doing from Tootsie. My agent is Aqua Talent here in Los Angeles. She won't take direction, she's changing the play. She's like an infection that won't go away. She just wants to fight me, she's doing this to spite me. I hate what she's doing. It's really traumatic, I'm getting upset. She's bringing back memories I need to forget. She's taking my girl, she's taking my play, and I'm ready to blow just because of that cow. God damn it! She's got to stop doing what she's doing now.
How fun is that? What I liked is are you reading? It looks like you're reading.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, is that sheet music or the lyrics?
The sheet music in front of me in my Zoom.
Okay, and then I heard that click, click, click. Did they give you the soundtrack for that, or how did they?
Yes. In this particular instance, they sent it. You submit, in this particular instance, you submit the picture and the resume, and then they sent you back what they wanted you to sing. And so they sent me a copy of the music. And so that's what my issue was, downloading it to my computer or putting it on my phone and then playing it and rehearsing it and rehearsing it and rehearsing it. So it looked as though the music was there. That's one of those virtual challenges.
Right. But it's great that the production sends you what you need, and then you basically create it.
Yeah, but in this last month or so, when you go to the Equity website, which is the Performers Union for Stage Actors, they'll give you, they're like the ones that we have locally in Los Angeles. They give you the character breakdown. They'll tell you where to send it to, and they tell you what you want. And they're real specific about time.
Right.
Send me the reason I have 2 Shakespearean auditions, because the last 3 Shakespearean companies, Utah, Syracuse, and somewhere else, they said, send us 2 Shakespeare auditions, not to exceed 3 minutes, the entire audition. So
both of them have to be
less than 3 minutes.
Wow.
Because they're taking submissions from all over the country or all over the world.
Right, but you're talking Shakespeare. When does he write small speeches?
Right.
It's like he's not known for that. Absolutely. That, and also, if you were listening to the beginning of his recording for the audition, you heard the little click, 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 and that's one of the music cues that give the performer, right after that last click.
Good. Yeah, because yes, that was the cue for you to start here.
Right. So, but I say that because a lot of people watching may not know this for the first time, or they get the tape and they're like, or the clip and they hear the click 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 and they're new.
Know
So
what it is. Yeah.
yeah, and you did it all in one take. So very very good. Okay, which is a nice segue to the final kind of section I want to get into. For those watching you and listening to me talk to you about your career and things that you've done, um, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's just getting into either the acting or the singing or the performing side? Any kind of words of wisdom?
Learn your craft.
You got to give me more.
Whatever acting technique you're going to study, whether it's Michael Chekhov, or I'm a student of, or if it's Stanislavski, and there's just a new book because I'm a part of the Michael Chekhov Institute's worldwide organization. One of the professors has written a book comparing Michael Chekhov to Stanislavski so that you can use them both, whether you use Stella Adler. And whatever your voice teacher is teaching you, learn your craft. If you're learning to do stand-up comedy, learn how to write a joke. Like David Chappelle says, set up, delivery, execution.
Punchline.
Learn anything for anybody that's new, whatever it is, dance, acting, improv, screenwriting, learn your craft. Because when you learn your craft and then go out and use what you've learned, you're then now incorporating it so that you can make it look effortless. James Earl Jones, who is my favorite actor, says, believability is what it's all about. Does your audience believe your clarity of expression?
Yeah, and James Earl Jones is an amazing actor. Oh my God.
He was just in America too.
That's funny. That's funny because he's probably millions of works, TV, film, stage, everything he's done, award winner. But he's probably, honestly, he's going to be remembered for one particular role, which, of which is a voiceover, which I believe him. So it's like, so any other shout outs to theaters or things like that, like favorite theaters you like working with? Are you a member of?
Yeah, I'm a member of Actors Equity. I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild. I love the Robey Theater because they try to keep Black theater alive during this time. East-West Players, because they're doing Asian theatrical productions. My heart goes out to my fellow actors that this pandemic has shut us down, but we all have to be creative. Like I said, I've been more busy during this pandemic than I have been in the year before the pandemic. But see, I'm a hustler. I look for auditions. I submit on Actors Access. I submit on the Actors Equity website. I look for work.
Right.
Shout outs to
and you're honing your craft. You're
and big shout out to anyone who is a frontline worker. Thank you for keeping us healthy. I lost a sister and a very good friend to COVID. So, anytime I'm out, if I'm door dashing or whatever I'm doing, and I see someone that has on medical attire, are you a frontline worker? Thank you for what you do. We have to be grateful because it's interesting now, all of us that have gotten our second shot or our first shot, we're talking about, we made it. A year ago, we were fearful when Uncle Don, I call him because people had said, Uncle Sam, you're Uncle Don, because he tried to dominate people's mental aspect. Everybody was afraid. Are we going to make it? I lost someone else. Can I touch that doorknob? Do I have to wear the mask? Do I have to put and leave my clothes outside when I come home? So anybody that has lost a family member, a relative, my heart bleeds because we all share a common sadness, and that is loss due to COVID-19. So my heart.
Right. And like I was saying earlier, I had to reinvent myself as well because we couldn't go to theaters. We couldn't go anywhere. So I created the show here, and then a lot of people. And believe it or not, I'm actually too young to get the shot yet, so I don't qualify. But
I got my second this past week.
I'm like, I really want it, but I never thought being too young would be a problem. But whatever.
Shout out to you, because what you're doing is you're bringing light to this dark tunnel that we still are living in, and you're opening up people's eyes, and it's a beautiful thing because you're carrying so much positivity with you, because we don't know the effect of what we do. I was driving DoorDash the other day, went to Leisure World, and this young man, African-American man, he said, "What's your name?" And I thought he was doing the line from the Wild West Stunt show at Knott's Berry Farm, one of those funny shows. When I went, "Well, I'm a nobody." And I said, "And who are you?" He didn't know the show. The show is that I'm in charge. "Oh, you're in charge of nobody." But he said, "What's your name?" And I went, "Barack Obama." And he said, "Now that is something with Mel. I know you." And I had on my LA Job Corps shirt, and he pointed to my chest. He said, "I was one of your students at Los Angeles Job Corps." That was 10 years ago.
Wow.
So we never know what.
Well, I think part of that is you have an amazing personality. You're easy to talk to. You're incredibly knowledgeable, and I think when you meet really good people, even if it's just once, they leave a kind of little shadow of an impression, and good people like yourself, when people come back and see you again 10 years later, they're like, "Oh, that little memory cell is, you're kind of cool, and I have no idea why, but I know you."
That warms my heart. It really does, because
that's to your credit, though. You did that.
Thank you. It's about connections, right?
Absolutely.
I grew up in the Baptist church, and Miss Goodwin, she had a son named Troy, and Troy had Down syndrome, and he was one of the first people with a disability or a challenge or a special need. And my sister, who is passed on, Gilda taught me the value of every person is a human being.
Right.
Say hello. And see, that's what we do. We're from Utah. My daughter gets mad all the time. "Why did you tell people all your business?" You don't always tell somebody from Utah, because they tell you everything about them in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of, I don't know if you heard of the hashtag Be Kind. I put it in everything, and it's just simple. I mean, be nice to everybody, and it'll come back to you in positive ways. That's just my belief. I know I'm prophesizing here, but anyway, I tell you what, Mel, this has been. I don't know. Did you notice your amazing handsomeness behind me?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And he prefers Mel, everyone. So. No, oh, absolutely. And like I said before, you're completely knowledgeable and fun and easy to talk to. Again, I appreciate you doing this. Do you have any final words you want to throw out at anybody? Anything at all?
Let's move on with the hashtag Be Kind.
Aw.
Always felt that human kindness is what's going to get us through.
Right. And I don't know if you remember the whole, I don't know if it was a fad or thing, but the pay it forward thing is, if you can do something for somebody else and it doesn't hurt or cost or whatever yourself, do that nice thing, because you pay it forward, they'll pay it forward. Everybody benefits when you pay it forward. So,
and if nothing else, when it's my time to cross over and join the rest of my friends up there playing tennis and acting and singing and dancing and whatever, you know what I mean? My mantra has always been, I think everyone deserves quality entertainment. And I want to do everything that I can to that.
Well, clearly we've seen you can and have and done. So I'm assuming you're not going to stop tomorrow, right?
Not unless the man upstairs said, "Hey, the little short guy, come on home."
Shh. None of that. Okay.
Come back later.
Hashtag positivity. Anyway, okay. So, Mel, again, I thank you so much for doing this. This has been a complete delight and excitement. Again, if I haven't said you're amazing, you're amazing. And just in case you didn't hear me, you're amazing. So for those of you who don't know, somewhere on the screen, there's a button for I can say it, subscribing to the Geek Authority channel. Click that little bell. That'll send you an email when I drop something, and you can watch it whenever you have the time. Hopefully, a lot. Don't forget to share this. Real quick, I just want to go over some of the other shows if you haven't caught. Besides this, the Geek Authority show, I have TGA's Mysterious Chamber of Collectibles. I collect things that I've been collecting for a long time. I have Unboxing the Geek Authority, which is basically me opening up new stuff for the first time. You see it, I see it for the first time. I have my TGA's Reviews, Opinions, and Commentary, which is basically I talk about subjects, express my feelings, opinions, and personal experiences. I have a show called The Geek Authorities Talk About, where I gather family and friends, and we talk about anything. A couple of the subjects that have included the new series Cobra Kai on Netflix, some old series like Space 1999 with Martin Landau and Barbara Bain, for those of you who know those actors, as well as a little sentimental journey down Disneyland and California Adventure, because they've been closed for almost a year now. Friends and I got together and kind of shared our experiences. It got real emotional. It was kind of fun. And then there's my brand new show called Making Entertainment, where the Geek Authority goes behind the scenes and we talk about productions that are either forthcoming on stage, via Zoom, or anywhere that's a film as well, as far as not yet released, but this is how they made it, and this is all behind the scenes. So with that said, Mel, again, thank you so much. I hope you had a great time. I had a wonderful time.
Thank you so much. And I'll be calling you because I love to do behind the scene.
Oh, anytime you got a project, especially stuff, and just so you know, stuff like Shakespeare, get the whole cast and crew together and talk about, that would be fun. But whatever, I'll take whatever you send over.
I will be
anyway,
a customer.
Nice, thank you. Okay, so let's say goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Blessings.